In 2021, Alexa records the unthinkable seconds before the kidnapping. An investigative report by Michael Harrison, the morning of March 15, 2021, began like any other for Sarah Mitchell in her cozy apartment in downtown Seattle, Washington. The 28-year-old marketing coordinator had just returned from her morning jog through Pike Place Market, her Alexa device greeting her with the day's weather forecast as she entered her Capitol Hill apartment. "Good morning, Sarah. Today's forecast shows partly cloudy skies with a high of 62 degrees, the familiar voice announced from her kitchen counter. What neither Sarah nor anyone else could have imagined was that this small digital assistant would become the key witness to one of Seattle's most perplexing missing person cases, a case that would remain unsolved for 3 years until an extraordinary discovery changed everything. The perfect life interrupted Sarah Mitchell had everything going for her in the spring of 2021. Fresh out of the University of Washington with a degree in communications, she had landed her dream job at a boutique marketing firm specializing in sustainable brands. Her one-bedroom apartment on Pine Street offered stunning views of Elliott Bay, and she had recently started dating Mark Thompson, a software developer she'd met through mutual friends. Sarah was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered, recalls her best friend Jennifer Walsh. She had this infectious laugh and was always planning the next adventure. She was talking about taking a trip to Europe that summer, maybe even proposing to Mark herself because she was tired of waiting for traditional gender roles. Her daily routine was as predictable as it was pleasant. Every morning at 6:30 a.m., she would ask her Alexa device to play her workout playlist, a curated mix of pop hits and motivational tracks that got her energized for her 3-mile run. Upon returning, she'd request the weather, news updates, and her calendar for the day. Alexa had become like a roommate to her, explains her mother, Patricia Mitchell. She would talk to it constantly, asking for recipes, setting reminders, even just chatting when she was lonely. We used to tease her that Alexa knew more about her daily life than we did. The Amazon Echo device, a second-generation model purchased during Black Friday 2020, sat prominently on Sarah's kitchen island. It was connected to her home's Wi-Fi network and linked to her Amazon account, which meant it was constantly listening for its wake word, ready to spring into action with weather updates, music, or answers to random questions. This constant state of readiness, a feature designed for convenience, would prove to be the most crucial element in a case that baffled investigators for years. March 15, 2021, the day everything changed. The timeline of March 15, 2021 has been reconstructed through various sources: credit card transactions, security camera footage from nearby businesses, text message logs, and ultimately, the audio recordings that would change everything. 8:47 a.m. Sarah's last text message to Mark read, "Can't wait for dinner tonight. Making your favorite pasta." 9:15 a.m. Her credit card was used at Whole Foods on Pine Street, where security footage shows her purchasing ingredients for dinner: fresh basil, Parmesan cheese, and organic ground turkey. 9:42 a.m. Building security cameras capture her entering her apartment building, grocery bags in hand, appearing relaxed and happy. 9:45 a.m. The final normal interaction with her Alexa device, a request to add "Call Mom about weekend plans" to her to-do list. 10:23 a.m. This is where the timeline becomes crucial. According to later audio analysis, Alexa's microphones detected what investigators would eventually classify as unusual household sounds and elevated stress patterns in the resident's voice. What happened in those 38 minutes between her last normal interaction and 10:23 a.m. remains partially mysterious, but the audio evidence suggests someone gained entry to Sarah's apartment through means that didn't trigger any building alarms or security alerts. Mark Thompson became concerned when Sarah didn't respond to his texts throughout the afternoon. She was the type to respond immediately, he explains. If she was in a meeting, she'd at least send a quick in-meeting, talk soon message. Radio silence wasn't like her at all. By 6 p.m., when Sarah failed to answer her door for their planned dinner date, Mark contacted building management to request a wellness check. The apartment was found unlocked, with no signs of struggle, but Sarah was nowhere to be found. Her phone, purse, keys, and jacket were all still in the apartment. It was like she had just vanished into thin air, recalls Detective Maria Rodriguez, who was assigned to the case. There were no broken windows, no signs of forced entry, no evidence of a struggle, but there was something unsettling about the scene. It felt staged, Too clean, too perfect. The investigation begins. The Seattle Police Department initially treated Sarah's disappearance as a potential voluntary missing person case, despite her family's insistence that she would never leave without contacting them. The lack of physical evidence and the seemingly undisturbed state of her apartment led some investigators to theorize she might have left on her own. We had to consider all possibilities, explains Detective Rodriguez. Young adults sometimes need to escape pressures in their lives. Maybe she was overwhelmed with work, relationships, or family expectations. Without evidence of foul play, we had to keep an open mind. However, Sarah's family never wavered in their belief that something terrible had happened to their daughter. They organized search parties, distributed flyers throughout Seattle, and maintained active social media campaigns to keep her case in the public eye. Patricia Mitchell became a familiar face at Seattle Police Department headquarters. I went there every week for the first year, she recalls, tears still evident in her voice 3 years later. I brought photos, timelines, new theories. I refused to let them forget about my daughter. The investigation hit numerous dead ends. Security footage from surrounding businesses was reviewed extensively, but Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood, while bustling, has many blind spots. Credit card activity showed no unusual transactions. Phone records revealed no suspicious contacts or threatening messages. Mark Thompson was thoroughly investigated and cleared of any involvement. His alibi was solid. He was in a client meeting with multiple witnesses from 9 a.m. until noon on March 15th. The hardest part was the suspicion, Mark reflects. I understood why I had to be investigated, but when you're grieving the loss of someone you love, being treated as a suspect adds another layer of pain to an already unbearable situation. Months turned into a year, then 2 years. The case grew cold despite the family's relentless efforts to keep it active. New missing person cases demanded the department's attention and resources. Sarah's case file grew thicker with false leads, reported sightings, and dead-end theories, but no real progress was made. The digital witness nobody thought to question. In the rush to canvass neighborhoods, interview friends, and analyze physical evidence, one potential witness was overlooked. Sarah's Alexa device, sitting silently on her kitchen counter. The oversight wasn't unusual. In 2021, while smart home devices were becoming commonplace, law enforcement protocols for accessing digital evidence from these devices were still being developed. Many investigators weren't yet thinking of smart speakers as potential witnesses to crimes. We were focused on traditional evidence, admits Detective Rodriguez. Phone records, financial transactions, physical evidence. The idea of requesting audio logs from a smart speaker wasn't standard procedure yet. Amazon's policies regarding law enforcement access to Alexa recordings were also complex and not widely understood. The company required specific legal procedures and could only provide recordings if certain conditions were met, including proof that the device was activated by its wake word or through manual activation. It wasn't until Detective James Chen, a tech-savvy investigator who joined the case in late 2022, suggested exploring digital evidence from smart home devices that the Alexa angle was pursued. I had worked on a domestic violence case where we successfully obtained Ring doorbell footage, Chen explains. It got me thinking about what other smart devices might have captured evidence we hadn't considered. The legal process to obtain Amazon's cooperation took several months. The family had to provide written consent, the police department had to demonstrate probable cause, and Amazon's legal team had to review the request against their privacy policies. In March 2023, exactly 2 years after Sarah's disappearance, Amazon provided the Seattle Police Department with audio logs from Sarah's Alexa device covering the 48-hour period surrounding March 15, 2021. The voice from the past. The audio files delivered by Amazon would prove to be the breakthrough the case desperately needed, though the revelation would come in the most unexpected way possible. Detective Chen spent weeks analyzing the recordings with audio specialists from the Washington State Crime Lab. Most of the files contained routine interactions, weather requests, music commands, timer settings, but the recordings from the morning of March 15th painted a chilling picture of Sarah's final moments in her apartment. 9:45 a.m., Sarah. Alexa, add call mom about weekend plans to my to-do list. Alexa, I've added that to your to-do list. 9:52 am. Background sounds. Keys jingling footsteps. Sarah. Alexa, what time is Mark picking me up tonight? Alexa, I don't have that information in your calendar. 10:18 a.m. Doorbell sound. Sarah, muffled. Coming. 10:19 a.m. Sounds of door opening. Unknown male voice. Sarah Mitchell? Sarah. Yes, that's me. Can I help you? Unknown male voice. I'm with building maintenance. We've had reports of a gas leak in this unit. 10:20 a.m. Sarah. Voice showing concern. A gas leak? I haven't noticed any smell. Unknown. Male voice. Ma'am, I need you to come with me immediately. This building needs to be evacuated. 10:21 a.m. Sarah. Voice becoming stressed. Wait, let me get my purse and phone. Unknown. Male voice. Ma'am, there's no time. We need to leave now. 10:22 a.m. Sarah. Voice showing resistance. I'm not going anywhere without my belongings. Let me see some identification. Unknown. Male voice. Becoming more insistent. Ma'am, you're putting everyone in this building at risk. 10:23 a.m. Sarah. Voice clearly distressed. Alexa, call 911. Sound of struggle, items falling. Unknown. Male voice. Sharp commanding. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The recording cuts off abruptly at 10:24 a.m. Sarah's command to call 911 had activated Alexa's emergency services, but the struggle prevented the call from going through properly. Hearing Sarah's voice after 2 years of silence was emotionally devastating for the family, recalls Patricia Mitchell, but it also gave us hope. We finally knew she had been taken against her will, and we had evidence of the person responsible. The male voice in the recording became the focus of intense analysis. Voice recognition experts worked to create a profile of the suspect based on speech patterns, accent analysis, and vocal characteristics. The results suggested a male in his 30s or 40s, likely from the Pacific Northwest region, with no distinctive accent that would indicate recent relocation from another part of the country. The search intensifies. Armed with audio evidence of an abduction, the Seattle Police Department reclassified Sarah's case as a kidnapping and assigned additional resources to the investigation. The building maintenance cover story used by the abductor led investigators to examine all legitimate maintenance workers who had access to the building. Though none matched the voice profile or had suspicious backgrounds, the investigation expanded beyond Seattle. If Sarah had been taken by someone posing as a maintenance worker, it suggested a level of planning and possibly experience with similar crimes. FBI databases were searched for similar cases involving maintenance worker impersonations. Detective Chen coordinated with missing persons units across Washington, Oregon, and California, sharing the voice recording and asking for similar case patterns. The hope was that the abductor might have used similar methods in other cities. We started thinking about this as potentially part of a larger pattern, Chen explains. Someone comfortable enough to walk into a building, convince a woman to come with him using an authority figure ruse that suggests experience and confidence. Meanwhile, the Mitchell family's private investigator, retired Seattle detective Bob Henley, pursued a different angle. He focused on Sarah herself, researching her recent activities, social media interactions, and any new people who might have entered her life. Sometimes the answer is closer than we think, Henley explains. I wanted to understand if Sarah had encountered this person before, maybe someone who had observed her routines and knew she lived alone. The investigation revealed that Sarah had recently started using TaskRabbit for various home projects: furniture assembly, picture hanging, minor repairs. The platform's record showed 3 different workers had been to her apartment in the 2 months before her disappearance, all of whom were interviewed and cleared. Social media analysis showed Sarah had been active on Instagram and Facebook, sharing photos of her apartment, her daily routines, and her relationship with Mark. While her accounts were set to private, investigators wondered if someone had found ways to gather information about her lifestyle and schedule. 3 years of searching, as 2021 turned into 2022, and then 2023, the investigation continued, but with diminishing hope. The voice recording had provided crucial evidence of the crime, but identifying the speaker remained elusive. The case received periodic media attention, especially around anniversaries of Sarah's disappearance, but no significant breaks emerged. Patricia Mitchell never stopped searching for her daughter. She created a blog documenting the investigation, sharing updates and theories. She organized annual awareness events and worked with other families of missing persons to advocate for legislative changes regarding smart device evidence in criminal investigations. I couldn't accept that my daughter had just vanished, Patricia explains. Every day I didn't hear from her was another day she might be suffering somewhere needing help. Giving up wasn't an option. The family offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to Sarah's safe return or the arrest of her abductor. Tips came in regularly but led nowhere: mistaken identities, attention seekers, and well-meaning but inaccurate sightings from across the country. Mark Thompson struggled with survivor's guilt and eventually sought therapy to process the trauma of losing Sarah and being investigated as a suspect. "I kept thinking about what I could have done differently," he reflects. "Should I have insisted on picking her up earlier? Should I have been more concerned when she didn't answer her phone that morning?" By early 2024, even the most optimistic investigators began to prepare for the possibility that Sarah might never be found alive. Cold cases like hers unfortunately have low resolution rates after the first 2 years, and despite the audio evidence, no new leads had emerged. An unexpected discovery. On January 18, 2024, nearly 3 years after Sarah's disappearance, Officer Jennifer Liu of the Portland Police Department was conducting a routine wellness check in Old Town Portland. A local business owner had called about a woman who had been sleeping in doorways for several weeks, appearing disoriented and unable to provide coherent information about her identity. "We get these calls regularly," Officer Liu explains. "Portland has a significant homeless population, and many people struggle with mental health issues or substance abuse. But something about this particular call felt different. The woman, appearing to be in her late 20s or early 30s, was found sitting outside a closed bookstore on Southwest Yamhill Street. She was wearing clothes that, while dirty and worn, appeared to be of good quality. She had no identification, no belongings except a small backpack containing basic items, and seemed confused about basic questions like her name or how long she had been in Portland. She kept asking for Alex or Alexa," Officer Liu recalls. "At first we thought she might be looking for a friend named Alex. She seemed fixated on this name, repeating it over and over." The woman was taken to Portland General Hospital for evaluation. Medical examination revealed she was physically healthy, but appeared to be suffering from severe amnesia. She couldn't remember her name, where she was from, or how she had arrived in Portland. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to Detective Chen, a neurologist at Portland General, was assigned to evaluate the patient. "Memory loss of this severity is unusual, but not unheard of," Dr. Chen explains. "It can result from physical trauma, psychological trauma, or a combination of both. In this case, we found no evidence of recent physical injury, which suggested the amnesia might be psychological in nature." The woman was entered into Portland's system as a Jane Doe and provided with temporary housing at a local shelter, while social workers attempted to determine her identity. Standard procedures included taking photographs and fingerprints to run through missing persons databases. The moment of recognition. 3 weeks later, on February 8, 2024, Detective Rodriguez received a call that would change everything. Portland police had a potential match for Sarah Mitchell in their system, a Jane Doe with amnesia who had been found in Old Town Portland. "I remember exactly where I was when I got that call," Detective Rodriguez recalls. "I was in my car stuck in Seattle traffic, and I had to pull over because my hands were shaking so badly." The photographs sent by Portland police showed a woman who bore a strong resemblance to Sarah Mitchell, though she appeared significantly thinner and older than in her 2021 photos. Her hair had grown longer and appeared to have been cut unevenly, possibly by herself. Most striking were her eyes. They held a distant, confused expression that was completely different from the bright, confident woman in Sarah's missing person photos. Detective Rodriguez immediately contacted the Mitchell family and drove to Portland with Patricia Mitchell to see the woman in person. The 5-hour journey felt like the longest drive of both their lives. "I was terrified," Patricia Mitchell recalls. "What if it wasn't Sarah? What if it was her, but she didn't remember us? What if she had been so traumatized that she was no longer the daughter I knew?" At Portland General Hospital, the reunion was both heartbreaking and miraculous. Patricia Mitchell took one look at the woman and knew immediately it was her daughter, despite the physical changes. "Sarah," she whispered, approaching slowly. The woman looked up with no recognition in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I don't know who Sarah is. People keep calling me that name, but I don't remember it." DNA testing confirmed what Patricia's heart already knew. This was indeed Sarah Mitchell, alive but with no memory of her previous life, her family, or the circumstances that had brought her to Portland. The long road to recovery. Sarah's reappearance created a media sensation, but her family was focused entirely on her recovery. She was transferred to Swedish Medical Center in Seattle, where a team of specialists began the complex process of treating her amnesia and helping her readjust to a life she couldn't remember. Dr. Michael Roberts, a neuropsychologist specializing in trauma-related memory disorders, led Sarah's treatment team. Cases like Sarah's are incredibly complex, he explains. The amnesia appeared to be primarily psychological rather than physical, which suggested it might be her mind's way of protecting her from traumatic memories. The treatment approach was carefully calibrated. Too much information too quickly could potentially re-traumatize Sarah, while too little could prevent the recovery process from beginning. The team started with basic information: her name, age, and the fact that she was safe with people who loved her. We began by establishing a sense of safety and security, Dr. Roberts explains. Sarah needed to understand that she was no longer in danger and that the people around her wanted to help her recover, not hurt her. Patricia Mitchell spent every day at the hospital, showing Sarah photo albums, sharing stories about their family, and simply being present. I had to fall in love with my daughter all over again, she explains. The Sarah who came back to us was different, more fragile, more scared, but still my daughter underneath it all. Mark Thompson struggled with whether to visit. I didn't know if seeing me would be helpful or harmful, he reflects. She didn't remember our relationship, didn't remember being in love with me. I had to grieve the loss of what we had while being grateful she was alive. Memories in the darkness. After 6 weeks of intensive therapy, Sarah experienced her first memory breakthrough. She was listening to music therapy when a song came on that triggered something deep in her consciousness. I suddenly remembered dancing, Sarah recalls in her first public statement since being found. Not where or when or with whom, but the feeling of moving to music and being happy. It was the first time I felt connected to a life I couldn't remember. The breakthrough opened a pathway for other memories to begin returning. Though the process was slow and often fragmentary, Sarah began remembering her apartment, her morning runs, and eventually, her family. It was like watching someone wake up from a very long dream, Patricia Mitchell explains. Each day, more pieces of her personality would emerge. She'd remember a favorite food or a childhood story, and I could see my daughter coming back to me. The memories of her abduction and the missing 3 years remained elusive. Dr. Roberts explained this was common in trauma-related amnesia. The mind protects itself by blocking access to the most painful memories. We may never recover those specific memories, Dr. Roberts cautioned the family, and that might be for the best. The important thing is that Sarah is recovering her sense of self and her connection to the people who love her. The investigation continues. While Sarah's family celebrated her return and focused on her recovery, law enforcement faced new challenges. Sarah's amnesia meant she couldn't provide information about her abductor, where she had been held, or how she had ended up in Portland. Detective Chen worked closely with Portland police to investigate Sarah's 3-year gap. How had she survived? Who had provided for her basic needs? Had she been held captive the entire time? Or had she been living independently with amnesia? We had to reconstruct 3 years of someone's life when that person couldn't help us, Chen explains. It was like trying to solve a puzzle with most of the pieces missing. Analysis of Sarah's physical condition when found provided some clues. She showed signs of having lived outdoors for an extended period, but also had evidence of having had access to medical care at some point during the missing years. Her dental work included a filling that hadn't been present in 2021, suggesting she had received dental care during her absence. The investigation expanded to include homeless shelters, medical facilities, and social services organizations throughout the Pacific Northwest. Someone, somewhere, had encountered Sarah during her missing years, even if they hadn't known her true identity. We put out bulletins with Sarah's photo, asking if anyone remembered providing services to a woman matching her description, Detective Chen explains. The homeless community often operates below the radar, but people within that community look out for each other. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A volunteer at a Portland soup kitchen recognized Sarah's photo from news coverage. She remembered serving a woman matching Sarah's description who had frequented the facility for several months in late 2023. She was very quiet, never caused any trouble, recalls volunteer Maria Santos. She always said thank you and seemed grateful, but she never talked about herself or where she came from. We respected her privacy. Many people who need our services have complicated situations. This led to other sightings and contacts throughout Portland's social service network. Sarah had apparently been living independently, but struggling with basic tasks and memory issues. Several people remembered her asking repeatedly about someone named Alex or Alexa, the technology that saved her. As Sarah's recovery progressed and more memories returned, one consistent element emerged in her recollections: a persistent memory of trying to contact Alexa for help. Even without remembering the specific circumstances, Sarah's subconscious mind had retained the association between Alexa and safety. Dr. Roberts found this particularly significant. The fact that Sarah kept asking for Alexa suggests that her attempt to call for help during the abduction left a deep impression, even if she couldn't consciously access that memory. This revelation led to a new understanding of the case. The Alexa device hadn't just recorded evidence of Sarah's abduction, it had become a symbol of hope and safety in her traumatized mind, possibly helping her maintain some connection to her identity, even during the darkest period of her ordeal. Technology saved Sarah in more ways than one, reflects Detective Rodriguez. Not only did the Alexa recording provide crucial evidence, but Sarah's remembered connection to asking Alexa for help might have kept part of her identity intact during 3 years of amnesia. The case highlighted the growing importance of smart home devices in criminal investigations. Following Sarah's case, the Seattle Police Department developed new protocols for requesting digital evidence from smart speakers, and other law enforcement agencies began incorporating similar procedures. Amazon, while maintaining their privacy policies, worked with law enforcement to clarify procedures for accessing recordings in emergency situations. The company also updated its Alexa software to better handle interrupted emergency calls, ensuring that requests for help are prioritized even if the interaction is cut short. A family rebuilt. By summer 2024, Sarah had recovered many of her core memories and was beginning to rebuild her life. The 3 years of traumatic amnesia had changed her. She was more cautious, more appreciative of small moments, and deeply grateful for the family support that had never wavered. "I'm not the same person I was in 2021, Sarah acknowledges. "I can't pretend those 3 years didn't happen even if I can't fully remember them. But I've learned that identity isn't just about memories. It's about the people who love you and refuse to give up on you." Sarah moved back in with her parents temporarily while continuing her recovery. She began working part-time at a nonprofit organization that helps missing persons' families, finding purpose in supporting others who were experiencing what her family had endured. Mark Thompson and Sarah reconnected slowly and carefully. "We couldn't pick up where we left off," Mark explains. "We had both changed too much for that, but we could build something new, and that's what we're doing." The relationship between Sarah and her parents deepened through the recovery process. "In some ways, we know each other better now than we did before," Patricia Mitchell reflects. "Going through something this traumatic strips away all the superficial things and shows you what really matters: justice and closure." The investigation into Sarah's abduction remains active, though the lack of recoverable memories about her captivity has made it challenging to identify her abductor. The voice recording from 2021 remains the primary evidence, and investigators continue to run it through databases and compare it to suspects in similar cases. "We haven't given up," Detective Chen emphasizes. "Someone out there knows what happened to Sarah during those 3 years. Someone provided medical care. Someone saw her during her captivity. Someone knows the identity of the man whose voice we captured on that recording." The FBI has classified the case as part of a potential pattern of abductions involving authority figure impersonations. Similar cases in other states are being reviewed for connections, and the voice recording has been shared with law enforcement agencies nationwide. Sarah's case has also contributed to legislative discussions about digital privacy rights versus law enforcement needs. Her family has advocated for clearer procedures that would allow faster access to smart device recordings in missing persons cases while still protecting privacy rights. If the police had been able to access Sarah's Alexa recordings immediately instead of waiting 2 years, maybe we could have found her sooner, Patricia Mitchell argues. There needs to be a balance between privacy and safety, especially in emergency situations. The ripple effects. Sarah's story has had impacts far beyond her immediate family and the law enforcement community. Her case has become a catalyst for discussions about missing persons investigations, the role of technology in solving crimes, and the importance of never giving up hope. The Mitchell family established the Sarah Mitchell Foundation, which provides support for families of missing persons and advocates for improved investigation procedures. The foundation also funds research into trauma-related amnesia and recovery treatments. We want Sarah's story to help other families, Patricia Mitchell explains. If one family doesn't have to wait 3 years for answers because of changes made after Sarah's case, then something good will have come from our suffering. Smart device manufacturers have also taken notice. Amazon has updated its privacy policies to include clearer information about law enforcement access procedures, and other companies have developed similar guidelines. The industry has begun working with law enforcement to create standardized procedures for accessing device data in emergency situations. Voice recognition technology has improved, partly due to the interest generated by Sarah's case. The challenge of identifying her abductor from a brief audio recording has pushed researchers to develop more sophisticated voice analysis tools that could help solve similar cases in the future. A new beginning. As I complete this investigation in late 2024, Sarah Mitchell is continuing her recovery and rebuilding her life one day at a time. She has regained most of her memories from before 2021, though the 3 years of her captivity remain largely inaccessible to her conscious mind. Maybe it's better that I don't remember, Sarah reflects during our final interview. My family told me about the woman I was before. Confident, ambitious, always planning for the future. I'm different now, but I'm not less than I was. I'm just different. The case remains officially open, with investigators following leads and analyzing evidence. The man whose voice was captured by Alexa on March 15, 2021, has not been identified, and Sarah's whereabouts during the missing 3 years remain largely unknown. But for the Mitchell family, the most important mystery has been solved. Sarah is alive, she is safe, and she is loved. Everything else is secondary to that fundamental truth. We got our daughter back, Patricia Mitchell says simply. Not the same as she was, but perhaps even more precious because we know how close we came to losing her forever. The Alexa device that recorded those crucial seconds still sits on Sarah's nightstand in her childhood bedroom, now serving as both a functional assistant and a reminder of the technology that helped save her life. Sometimes, late at night, Sarah will ask it simple questions, the weather, the time, or to play a favorite song. The device responds with the same helpful, consistent voice it has always used. But for Sarah and her family, it will always be more than just a smart speaker. It was the digital witness that never forgot, never gave up, and ultimately helped bring their daughter home. In an age where technology often feels impersonal and invasive, Sarah's story reminds us that sometimes, the devices we invite into our homes become silent guardians, ready to speak for us when we cannot speak for ourselves. The investigation continues, hope endures, and somewhere in Seattle, a family that refused to give up has been reunited with their daughter, changed but alive, different but whole, lost but finally found. If you have any information about Sarah Mitchell's case or similar incidents involving authority figure impersonations, please contact the Seattle Police Department at 206-625-5011 or the FBI's tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Author's note: this investigation was conducted with the full cooperation of the Mitchell family, Seattle Police Department, and other agencies involved in Sarah's case. All interviews were conducted with informed consent, and care was taken to present information in a way that respects Sarah's ongoing recovery process while maintaining the integrity of the ongoing investigation.